How you doing, good people? This is the 8-Bit Animal. And long before y'all was giving money to Ubisoft every few years for Rainbow Six, and before that for Splinter Cell and Ghost Recon, Tom Clancy made his name writing these military fiction spy thriller opuses, I guess. A whole bunch of them, right? And the very first of those books was a 1984 novel called The Hunt for Red October. The Hunt for Red October was a smash hit and was adapted to film some years later. And the film was popular enough to where it, those video game rights kind of eked out, right? Problem is, High-Tech Expressions got the rights to do the console versions of those games. Yeah, that High-Tech Expressions. And High-Tech Expressions got Beam Software to develop the NES port. That Beam Software. Now, Beam Software, far as we've seen so far this year, only had the one good game, and that was Nightshade. High-Tech Expressions did Tom and Jerry. I like Tom and Jerry. And they did a game called Harley's Humongous Adventure for Super Nintendo. And I kind of like that. But this... oh boy, this game is bad. Let's have a chat, shall we? Today, we're going to take a quick look at The Hunt for Red October. Now, game is basically about a Russian submarine being smuggled to the US. And you control the sub for most of the game. It's a side-scrolling situation, and there's tight spaces, and your missiles can circle around behind you to take out enemies. But because it's tight spaces, the torpedoes hit walls and stuff, so they're ineffective. Turning around don't happen. That ain't gonna happen. It's an ugly video game. Well, I'm not gonna say it's ugly. I'm gonna say that it's lacking in color. Very, very drab. The control is awful. Like, I know you're controlling the submarine and there's some floatiness involved there, but this is even bad by those standards. Some years later, we got an arcade shmup from IRM called In the Hunt, where you control the submarine. In the Hunt is one of my favorite arcade shmups. In the Hunt controls gracefully. This controls like a moose slipping on its own poop. It's bad. The little bit of music you get in the game, you got the Soviet national anthem at the very beginning. At the very end, you get the U.S. national anthem, which works because you play this game, when you get to the end, you feel like old television. Old television back in the day, for the babies that's too young to remember, would cut off at a certain point, and the last thing you would hear on the TV is the national anthem. This game is awful. When you finally make it to the end of the game, it turns into a side-scrolling action game where you control a pixelated Sean Connery as he navigates the Red October to defuse bombs that have been put around the thing, and shoots people that were originally his crew that are now trying to get him out the paint. This and those sections, the jumping's weirdly floaty. This ain't good. you gotta make it to those sections by wading through all this garbage in the submarine, the sections where you control the submarines, like in order to get to the mediocre platform and stuff. So yeah, you gotta go through some super terrible stuff to get to some to mediocrity. Who wants to work that hard to get to mid? Explain me that. This is a bad video game. Very, very bad. I'll say this: the cutscenes are cool. They're faithful to the movie, and the game over screens, the screens where you surface and all that, those are cool. Anything else is dreadful. However, if you decide you want to get yourself a copy of The Hunt for Red October, you can get a copy for like $10 or less, and that's fair. The Super Nintendo port of this game was made for the Super Scope 6, if I remember correctly, and that's even cheaper. But yeah, this is a terrible video game in every way, shape, and form. Giving someone any money for it is questionable. Giving them more than $10? Highly dubious. That means you got scammed, baby. You did. But this has been the 8-Bit Animal. And don't buy this. I'll catch you beautiful people tomorrow. Tomorrow. Yeah, Kim Basinger was in 2 NES games to my knowledge. This one definitely ain't as good as the one everybody knows.